Welcome back. We're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. Joining us today, return guest, fellow YouTube content creator, and host of BTC Sessions, amazing YouTube channel. That's right, we've got Ben joining us. All right, we're going to the numbers. Let's do it, people.
Number time! Number Time is brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever, hosted in sunny Miami Beach. But be quick, get your tickets now before the price goes up, but take advantage of the link down below for 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 713,280. The Bitcoin price, 50,440. Chain rewrite days, 787. Total public lightning capacity, 3,287.54 sats per dollar. Moscow time, 1983. Still 1983, Nico. And blocks of the halving, 126,720.
Dude.
So that means it's the same. We're recording at the exact same price?
Man,
as yesterday?
Dude, when we were at 58K, we were stuck at 58K.
So
now
boring.
we're stuck at 50K, but there's a huge but, and I think people are missing this. But Phil, we actually talked about this last night, and I got some data to back it up.
Was it last night or 2 nights ago?
I don't. It's all mixed. It's all mixing together. It's all mixing together, Phil. Okay. So check this out. Check out this tweet by Glassnode. Bitcoin hash rate has almost completely recovered, sitting only 4% below all-time high. Network hash rate fell by over 50% in May following China's ban on Bitcoin mining. Hash rate has since climbed by 93% from the lows, hitting 172 exahashes today. Check this out, a more detailed chart. Dude, absolutely crazy. Now, I want to talk about two things, right? Usually what tends to happen when the Bitcoin hash rate hits an all-time high is the price tends to follow, right? That's number one. That's the first thing I want to talk about. Second thing I want to talk about is this was, other than the fork wars, of course, I think one of Bitcoin's biggest stress tests ever, right? And I think this was the largest migration of physical hardware in human history without any central authority essentially directing people to move their miners. It was purely on Bitcoin's incentives. And the fact that it happened in such a short amount of time is absolutely mind-blowing, and it proves Bitcoin's anti-fragility, and it proves Bitcoin's incentives, which is something that Bitcoiners have been, screaming, on top of rooftops about. But one thing is talking about it, and one thing is it actually happening. So absolutely freaking mind-blowing. And Phil, I think I'm going to win that bet. I think we're going to hit an all-time high in the hash rate before the end of the year, and that means you're going to have to drink some maple syrup. Phil?
Really? Are you calling that, huh? You're calling that, but I think the original bet was for the okay, all right, fine, we're going there. But look, in all seriousness, right? That people like you were saying, people really don't pay attention to the hash rate. I've been looking a little bit more now at the raw data from the hash rate, and that's some really interesting stuff. Like they essentially aggregate the number every single 24 hours, I think. So we don't always have an exact number. So it's kind of a surprise when you see it and it does a little spike up and you're like, all right, we're still on the right track. But the other piece to this is just to go on what you said about the quickest move of this type of hardware in history. What I think is really remarkable is that they were able to do this without any central coordinating authority. I mean, how does anybody function without someone telling them what to do?
Incentives.
And they just did it. They just did it, man. Incentives.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely mind-blowing. But I have a better question for Ben. Ben, do you take shots of maple syrup in the morning too, because you're Canadian?
I actually have an IV drip that happens. And it's on a timer. It actually, I'm fully catatonic until that drip gets going. So it's set on a timer. And, in the morning, my kid can be shaking me awake, but until that drip starts, I can't function. That's actually how Canadians live. Our blood is maple syrup. Not a lot of people know that. But yeah.
More you know.
Yeah. Also, I want to comment on the mining thing. I think I totally agree. That is one of the most bullish things that we have seen since the block size wars, because all of a sudden we have a perfect case study for exactly what happens when one of the largest countries on earth bans all forms, like basically outright bans Bitcoin. And the answer is effectively nothing. Bitcoin flows through the path of least resistance. It's like water; it just routes around you and it finds a way. So, it's going to keep doing what it's doing, regardless of poor policy. And this is going to be one of the biggest geopolitical blunders of the past century.
Absolutely, man. It's going to cost them trillions of dollars. I completely agree with you. Ben, one last question for you. Do you agree with again, we don't like to speculate on this channel, but, historically speaking, do you agree with my statement in the sense that usually when the Bitcoin hash rate makes an all-time high, the price tends to follow, or is that just me talking shit?
I think there's some historical precedent for that. I believe if you look back. Again, I guess as we're looking at historical precedent, this year has been totally different from past bull runs. So anything can happen, right? Like, most people weren't expecting a 50% pullback in the middle of the year that chugged along for like 3 months. And a lot of people were expecting us to be rocketing through all-time highs like already now. But I'm actually kind of finding where we're at right now to be kind of a good thing, as fun as it is to experience us rocketing through new all-time highs. Extending out the length of that bull run and kind of that sideways action, it gives credence to one of two things, either lengthening bull cycles or super cycle, or a combination of the two. We're basically lengthening bull cycles until the lengthening bull cycle encapsulates an entire 4-year halvening. At that point, it's just a super cycle.
Damn, bro, I gotta get some maple syrup IV, bro. That's some good stuff you're on.
That is some serious hopium. I am loving it. I am totally loving it. I subscribe, sir.
For the record, though, Phil, I think I told you that yesterday about the lengthening cycle. So, but anyways, guys, we don't like to speculate. Let's see what happens. But definitely the hash rate almost making an all-time high. That's definitely good for Bitcoin. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Fail. The Daily Fail is brought to you by Amber app. Check them out, amber.app. It's Bitcoin made easy. It's the best way to stack sats by toxic Bitcoiners. Check it out. The link is down below. All right. I have it on very, very good word that yellow actually is a yellow Muppet. Yellow?
Craig is a potato.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
All right, everyone. We've got a pretty interesting fail. It's going to sound very different than all the others you've ever heard. So hang on to your seats. Here we go. Entire 8 Finance treasury hacked because of a Google Doc. Nice, huh? All right. And there's the, here's the little screenshot. 2 devs in the team has the key. They were sent through Facebook groups, chat, and Google Drive. This is our first project. We must admit our OPSEC was low. All right.
Oh.
So hold on. We are gonna dive into this. We are gonna dive in. Yeah, I wanted to show you guys the website before we actually went and...
Wait, scroll down to that quote for a second. Hold on. Wait, the store of value that hedges against unpredictable / any market conditions.
Look,
not really quite enough, apparently.
They made a great site, right? I mean, it's really cool, and it tells you absolutely nothing about the people who started it. Like, you can't even find out who the team is from here. They give you a bunch of links to go to their Discord, their Telegram, all that stuff. But anyways, I digress. Let's actually dive into the story from 8 Finance, all right? And we're gonna pull together some interesting pieces here. So, 8 Finance hacked. All funds in treasury withdrawn due to a leak of the private key. 8 Finance, an Ohm fork on Harmony that offered to help people affected by the Snowdog Deo rug pull, lost around 1.7 million in what's supposedly a private key leak. Guys, you remember this, right? Talked about this last week. Olympus Deo forked Snowdog hit by 90% crash.
Phil, you're on fucking fire, dude.
Oh yeah, this is brutal, man. So think about it. These guys, okay? We're going to help you. And you're going to get rugged again. But wait, this gets a lot dumber. Hold on. Okay, here we go. You remember what we just read in that screenshot? 2 devs in the team have the key, and they were sent through Facebook groups, chat, and Google Drive. This is our first project, so we must admit our OPSEC was low. Okay, hold on a second. So here's a Medium article from 8 themselves. Okay, 8 Finance. 8 Finance is a decentralized autonomous organization, there's that word again, built by experienced DeFi developers, designers, and researchers. This is our first project, so we must admit our OPSEC was low. So which is it, though? Which is it?
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. 8 Finance was a yet-to-be Deo, so you got rugged before it even had a chance to rug a whole lot more people. That's great. Decentralized community-owned financial infrastructure. Further, the platform claims to offer, this is interesting, 257,596,698% APY. Okay? And for the people who don't know what APY is, it's annual percentage yield. Okay? So I want you guys to think of that number. Okay? This is what happens when you can't do math. Okay? And when you can't do math, you think, this is possible. Why not? Look at what Bitcoin did. Yeah, Bitcoin did not do this in 1 year. Anyway.
257
million
APY. Yes. So any asshole with $1 can put it in and make $257 million is what they're saying. Got a buck? You're going to be loaded. Like, what?
Dude.
Oh, God. But look, this is the best part of that statement is right at the end. It might have been possible before the recent loss. So somehow, the fact that this got rug pulled, well, that means this 257 million can't be possible anymore, guys. It just can't happen.
Hold on. Can we dig into that number just a little bit more? Like, that would... How... Okay, so... so
here we go.
Hold on. You would need... Hold on. How much is Musk worth? Musk is worth
150 billion.
150 billion. Okay, so with $100, you would be richer than Elon Musk, and everybody using the platform would be richer than the richest man on the planet with $100. Guaranteed, guys.
This is the future of finance. Is
there even that? There's not that. Like you would have. You would have like
in the world.
You'd have like 100 people on the platform, and you would have the entire market cap of the global economy. Like what?
Oh man!
Hey, look, we're not making this stuff up. We're simply bringing you the stories.
What's
right?
that? What's that line where it's like if you tell a lie big enough, people will believe it, or something like that? It's super famous. I think they went a little overboard though. Like it was a little it was a little too big.
They definitely stepped up the game.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The admins of the Discord server have assured the investors and members who lost their funds that they wouldn't go this far to rug the pool. How kind. Right? The final blow for investors came when the price of 8 started dropping. In the previous 24 hours, 8 has lost over 75% of its value and is down by approximately 98% since its all-time high. Though this was not it, the protocol announced in the server that 8 Finance was not safe to use anymore and investors should stop buying 8 tokens. So that 98% drop, right? They're making it sound like, oh my gosh, that's completely... We weren't expecting that. No. If you've been around long enough and you understand shitcoins long enough, you know that's the sweet spot. That's the number right there. You're looking at minus 98 and minus 99.97%. Those, you can't even trade this crap anymore. Exchanges won't even carry it. Anyways, that's next step. Okay, here we go. The recovery plan. Boom. We're going to fix this, Nico. Let's do it. On the 7th of December, the protocol came up with a recovery plan on their Discord server. The platform has provided 2 options to the community. They create an entirely new shitcoin on AVAX liquidity borrowing and will airdrop the shitcoin to 8 hodlers. Not 8 the number, but 8 the people who have this current bag. But that's probably going to happen too. Anyways, the second plan involves distributing $250,000 of marketing funds amongst all users. I'm going to just take I'm not a betting person. You know me. Like I don't like to bet. But I feel like they're gonna go for the shitcoin option. I think they're gonna go for option A because that's the cheap AF option, right? That's the I make money out of nothing option. What do you guys think?
I have just one observation. They were slightly off with the APY, just a little bit, just a tiny bit. I don't even think Bitcoin gave you those types of return. I think the Bitcoin return was like 52 million. This was 250. I don't know. Anyways,
I would say that they should create a new protocol and create a whole, like they should fork it and get everybody to put new money into that. And then they should just go for the rug pull hat trick there.
3 for 3. Okay, you know what? Ben just foretold the future. How much? You know what? We are going to be reading an article in about 3 months, maybe 5 months. Depends on which part of the bull cycle we're in and whether they feel they can milk the most people at whatever time. But we are going to be reading that rug pull.
No, the thing is, it happens so many times, Phil, that it's just like, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine the people. Imagine the people that waited until they said to stop buying 8 tokens to stop buying 8 tokens. Like they had to tell people to stop buying. Guys, seriously, this is bad. Don't buy these anymore. What?
Oh my god.
Oh
dude.
god.
Phil.
This is what we're living in, Nico.
That wasn't a Phil shitcoin slayer moment because it slayed itself, dude. It slayed itself. It slayed itself, dude. It slayed itself. But wow, that was enjoyable. Yeah, and when you think they will get worse, they get worse. These stories, bro. It's comical.
Nico just said it. It rugs itself. It's such a shitcoin. It rugs itself.
It's rugged itself. Like I don't know. Like dude. Like we have the orb. Remember we have the one that when Gary came on the show, bro. They rebranded. They had some really scary name. It was like
are you talking about WorldCoin?
Yeah, so there's WorldCoin.
We're talking about WorldCoin.
WorldCoin, Proof of Authority. Remember the Proof of Authority one, and then there's this. I don't know which is better. I don't know.
I don't remember the evil. I mean, they're all evil, but I don't remember the one with the creepy name.
It was the Proof of Authority that only had 100 nodes.
Yes,
no,
that's right.
It was 101 nodes.
101 nodes. You know what? At this point, seriously, we've reported so many shitcoin fails and rug pulls. I actually don't remember most of them.
Can somebody create a token that it has proof of rug where you burn tokens every time there's a public rug pull? That shit would be worth tons.
You just gave them a use case. You just gave them an idea. They're like, "Oh my gosh, that's genius." They're gonna send you Bitcoin. They're gonna be like, "Thank you." You know? You just
stop giving him ideas, guys. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Reviews. The Daily Meme Review is brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. Awesome stories by Bitcoin plebs, toxic Bitcoin plebs. But be quick about it, because there's only 1,000 copies per volume. Get your copy of Citadel 21 today. Alright, everybody, the meme. First meme, it looks like it's from a shitcoiner, but it was a good meme, so I wanted to review it. Anyways, let's check it out. Wife, I just talked to the bank. We're broke. Husband. Absolutely awesome meme. Moving on to the next one. It's by Honk Hogan. Definitely a fellow plebe. CSW is not Satoshi and didn't win shit. You hereby must pay $100 million in damages. CSW. I won. That's exactly his reaction. Moving on to the next one. This is kind of a piece of art, and this is from the movie. It's that really famous movie, man. It's where
The Truman Show.
The Truman Show, and it says "Opt out, buy Bitcoin." Kind of an art piece. I really like it. Made me feel good. Anyways, moving on to this one. Now, the one I found this fascinating because this was by Marcus Cicero. He lived during the Roman Empire. And remember what I told you guys, right? Like, you know, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And human nature doesn't really change. It's more so the technology. So check this out. The poor work and work. The rich exploit the poor. The soldier protects both. The taxpayer pays for all three. The banker, even back then, robs all four. The lawyer misleads all five. The doctor bills all six. The goons scare all seven. The politician lives happily on account of all eight. Written in 43 BC, valid even today. Very, very powerful. And last but not least, by Laser Hodl, man to the life votes, but there won't be any taxes. This is a deep meme, bro. You know, because that's what they're saying. It's like, who's going to pay for the road, bro? You know, but awesome memes. And for that, Phil, I'm going to give it some Puerto Rican hot sauce. It's called Mi Madre, because when you taste it and it's spicy, you say, my mother, because it's spicy. It's a Spanish thing. Anyways, what would you give those memes, Phil?
Very spicy, Nick. Okay, so look, those memes were epic. The Truman Show one is totally deep. I think it has more meaning than just a little Bitcoin logo on the wall. And I totally love that screenshot about the 43 BC. It just goes to show how pathetic and how not far we've come, right, in this arena. So, you know what? Those were great memes. And for that, I am giving it the trusty glue stick. And if you have a 3D printer, you may know.
But do you sniff it?
No, this is like Elmer's kid glue, dude. This is not. No, this is for 3D printer.
Okay, good. I was just making sure. Don't sniff glue, kids. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Very bad. Anyways, BTC sessions, Ben. What would you give those names?
I enjoyed them. I think my favorite one is the Truman Show one, to be honest. That was one of my favorite movies growing up. And I love it just because, like, you feel it. You feel it. You know, I think that the Truman Show is on par with the Matrix in its kind of allusion to Bitcoiners, right? Like the parts where people are like speaking at him with like just garbage ads that are like product placement in it, and he's like, what the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to? What is that? Like, that reaction is Bitcoiners experiencing fiat culture. And so I will give it that one in particular. I'm going to give it one Join Us Magic Internet Money mug.
Ooh, man, dude, holy crap.
I love that.
Ben,
I have that T-shirt. That's a great. That is a classic right there.
Ben one-upped us, Phil.
Yeah,
totally one-upped us. But anyways, guys, we wanted to know: do you agree with our scores? Do you disagree? Let us know down in the comment section, and of course, subscribe to us on Rumble and Bitcoin TV. Because, you know, we talk about central bankers on this show, and you never know. The censorship these days is getting pretty crazy. But, yeah. Anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily News. The Daily News is brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. Get yourself the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the 3D printed Honey Badger. Look, it opens, you can put your favorite hardware wallet, or the 3D printed Bitcoin grenade art. Really cool stuff. Put your open dimes. Awesome stuff. And you can take advantage of the link down below for 5% off. CryptoCloaks.com. All right, guys, check this out. It's fiat politics. Don't really, whatever. Point of the story is, check out this article by the New York Times. Congress gets a crash course on cryptocurrency. For the first time, the House Financial Services Committee did a whole 5-hour session on Bitcoin and shitcoins. Pretty crazy stuff. But anyways, let's check out the article and, we'll kind of riff on it a little bit. It followed familiar partisan patterns, with Democrats expressing concerns about crypto's risk as Republicans emphasize innovation and said that strict regulation would drive the industry away from the United States. Again, we are apolitical on Simply Bitcoin. We are single-issue voters. We don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican. We care whether you support Bitcoin. That being said, the Republicans are right here. Anyways, Miss Waters expressed concern about how quickly crypto is being adopted. Is that... Now, that statement's actually really interesting. Is that because maybe the money's broken and people are trying to opt out? Perhaps that could be a reason. Anyways, maybe. These digital assets currently have no overarching regulatory framework at the federal level. That's the point. Okay, anyways, I asked my friends on the Hill, do you know enough about this, right? So this is kind of the overarching narrative. I'll get to that in a second. But anyways, let's check out this comment by AOC. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democrat of New York, expressed doubt about executives' arguments that crypto represented a radical reshaping of commerce and finance. What do you say to the folks that say this doesn't seem like a new financial system per se, but an expansion of the old one? She asked Jeremy Allaire, the chief executive of payments company Circle. And he said, I really do believe we are building a new global economic infrastructure layer. Mr. Allaire replied, adding that crypto needs to be integrated with the traditional financial system, creating a hybrid model. Brian Brooks, an acting comptroller of the currency under President Donald Trump. That's a lot of signal. That is one of the most powerful regulators, and essentially the comptroller of the currency. We were covering that. Remember Sala Amarova? Mm-hmm. Yep. She was being appointed to that. But the signal here is the fact that someone that was a comptroller of the currency, after the Trump administration, he left and he went to go work in the Bitcoin and shitcoin industry. I think that says a lot. But anyways, and now the chief executive of the blockchain technology company Bitfury asked lawmakers to consider the decentralization that crypto systems can offer, and whether Americans want an internet that puts ownership in the hands of the users as opposed to a few giant tech companies. I think that's an amazing point. But anyways, Lisa Haas, the chief Coinbase exchange in the United States and the company's chief financial officer, said that Coinbase was not necessarily calling for the creation of a new regulator, but that it sought more regulatory clarity on crypto status. The executives repeatedly criticized Gary Gensler, the chairman of the SEC, who has said that many crypto tokens fall under the agency's purview and should be registered as securities, which would require extra disclosure and compliance costs. Anyways, moving on to this part, which I think is the part that I want you guys to focus on the most because it contains the most amount of signal. Experts who watched the hearing said that prospects for swift legislation action were uncertain. Lee Reiners, the executive director of the Global Financial Market Center at Duke University and formerly the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, said there would be no substantial change in rules until there is a crypto-linked financial crisis that hurts the proverbial widows and orphans. So, what is the overarching, feeling from this meeting? And I sat there and I watched I watched parts of it so that you guys wouldn't have to. These senators and these regulators have absolutely no freaking clue what Bitcoin and shitcoins are. They have no clue. So what pisses me off is the fact that the Treasury snuck in this crypto tax provision into the infrastructure bill. They voted on it, they passed it, and they don't even know what this stuff is, right? The questions that these people were asking was they couldn't even comprehend it. Right? So the fact that, and I kind of agree with the Republican side, why are you going to pass laws on something that you don't understand? Anyways, what are your thoughts, Phil?
We're governed by depraved lunatics. I mean, it's exactly what you just said. They don't understand what the implications are, but they're so quick to go and dump this right into the infrastructure bill and screw everybody. But look, I also want to comment on that last piece of signal that you mentioned there, right? That they need to have a crypto-linked crisis that quote-unquote affects the widows and orphans, right? So don't get me wrong, but history, like you've said, right? It doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So many times we've had crises, and then all of a sudden we've had, measures put in place as a result of those crises, right? And these are measures that usually don't actually benefit you and me. You know, these are measures that usually benefit the systems that put those measures in place. So I got to tell you, the language in that article at the end there, that kind of bothers me. That kind of bothers me. That kind of sets a precedent, you know, like this is what we need in order to create firmer regulation. But you just expressed that you don't understand what any of this stuff is. Why are you so concerned with regulation? You should be concerned with understanding this. You should be concerned with getting people who do understand it and that can explain it simply. Right?
Yep.
Anyways.
Absolutely agree. They should subscribe to BCT Sessions so they can get their daily session.
That's right.
Ben, what are your thoughts on this? Dude, you do what we do. You know, you do it in a much better way, of course. But
I don't think so.
You know, you see this stuff. You see everything we do. What are your thoughts on this, man? I'm sure you've, read some couple articles, etc.
I mean, I would tell them to stay in their fucking lane, but they're not even on the same highway, right? Like they're not even, they don't even understand what the hell is going on. Like they're talking about, oh, we need to establish a regulatory framework. Bitch, this shit runs in parallel to what you're doing. Like, it doesn't matter. People can hop over whenever they want. We see that with anything that's actually decentralized, which is basically just Bitcoin, right? And so, yeah, sure, they're going to crack down on a bunch of stuff. But there was a tweet. Oh, God, who was saying it? I can't remember who tweeted it out. It was something last week like, how can something that's meant to be a hedge lose X% of its value in a day or whatever it was as Bitcoin dropped? Do you guys recall that tweet?
Was that the guy that said that it dropped by 25%? I think
Yes.
I think it's that one. Like the guy has almost no followers. Not that matters.
Yeah.
That makes no difference. But I'm just saying, it's just like some account that came out of nowhere and put out this tweet. Yes. Nico, well, I can come up with that tweet.
Okay.
But there was somebody that was like, that had a lot of like, there was a lot of responses to it. There was somebody that had quite a following that basically echoed the same kind of sentiment as well. But I mean, that's, you know who it was? It was Jim Cramer. Kramer.
We covered that. We covered that. We covered
made
that.
this confusion last time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
okay, I don't have that tweet.
So here's my point here. They're talking about we need to establish all these regulatory hurdles to prevent this kind of stuff from happening. No, this is what it looks like when degenerate gamblers that are using leverage rightfully get flushed out of their positions. You don't need anybody to step in and regulate that. That's what happens when you actually have sound money that regulates itself. The people that take too much risk are gonna get burned. And it flushed out. Bitcoin's still ticking. Everything's still working fine. I can still send payments to whoever the hell I want. I can still earn my salary. I can still do everything. There's the same amount of Bitcoin that are ever going to exist. None of that changes. And so when they're talking about this, that they need to make all these regulations, it's ridiculous. And to the point where they're what was the last bit that you were pointing to, like the what was that one quote near the end where you were saying that so they need a financial crisis, a crypto linked financial crisis. So I think that plays out in one of two ways. I think that we always get the crypto tanking, all that kind of BS. If it gets built up too much, right? If the shitcoins get too much of a stronghold, and they get built up to considerable size, and companies start buying, like having well diversified portfolios as part of their treasuries, then they're going to get fucking wrecked, and there's a crisis right there. So that's one way it could play out. More realistically, I see the crisis coming as a dollar-related crisis, and that's our escape valve. But down the line, let's go past all of that stuff. Let's talk like 20, 30, 40 years out. Bitcoin is world reserve currency. Everybody deals in that. The real crisis will be the fiat bankers that think they can still fiat bank, that think they can fractional reserve with no no risk profile involved, with no consequences, and they're going to quickly learn that there's no fucking bailouts coming their way, right? And therein lies the crisis. The Trojan horse that is Bitcoin is hey, all of those degenerate habits that you learned from fiat world no longer apply here, and you're going to have to buck up or shut up. So that's how I see it. There's multiple crises that could come, but if you're just a humble pleb earning a wage, stacking sats, it doesn't affect you. So fiat world can pound sand.
Amen, dude. And it's man, you nailed it. And it's like they're used to the kill switch in the stock market, and that's not real capitalism, dude. Bitcoin it's a true free market. And what Jim Cramer was saying is like, how is this possible? It's like, dude, that's what capitalism is. Right, like that's what capitalism is, and it's exactly what you said, Ben. It's like, dude, it's like we didn't force them to be, leverage their, up to their eyeballs. They nope. made that decision themselves, right? So it's like they're used to. I think America has been operating really since 2008. It's really not a capitalistic society. It's a capitalistic society when the elites are making money, but when they lose, it's a socialist society because they get bailed out, right, by the public, right? So, man, it's crazy to see all of this happening all at once. But anyways, check this out. This is very scary stuff, but I'm very happy that we have Ben to talk about it. Check this out. I'm going to tie this in with a tweet that I saw today, and I think it's a foreshadowing into what we're going to see in the future. This article did come out in October, but this tweet came out today, and it just made me connect more dots, so I want to cover this. Beijing's global ambitions for central bank digital currencies are growing clearer. As central banks around the world contemplate the risk and benefits of issuing central bank digital currencies, Beijing is likely to leverage frustrations with the inefficiencies of existing cross-border payment channels to strengthen support for its vision of lower-cost alternatives built upon CBDCs. Notice how Bitcoin is completely left out of that statement. Bitcoin already solves this, but just notice how it's left out. If realized, such arrangements could allow Chinese firms and their trading partners to reduce the usage of US dollars for cross-border transactions and circumvent payment channels that the US government can shut off to entities it sanctions for national security reasons. They could already do this with Bitcoin. Why are they doing this with central bank digital currencies? I'll get to that in a second.
China's scumbags.
No, that gets more sinister, Phil. China's state-sponsored digital currency, the digital remedy, is already being designed to achieve these ends. The country's central bank, the People's Bank of China, stated in July 2021 white paper that the digital remedy is ready for cross-border use. Yet, for Beijing's grandest ambitions for its state-sponsored digital currency to be realized, the digital remedy must be interoperable with the central bank digital currencies of other countries. Hence, the People's Bank of China is supporting the development of global central bank digital currency standard and working with other monetary authorities to launch a multi-central bank digital arrangement. Now, why is this scary? Okay, let me bear with me. Check out this, it was this tweet I saw today, which is why I wanted to cover this. Chinese government are tightening grip on Chinese people in all kinds of ways. Check this out. In some cities, you have to be facial recognized to take subway. Fee is deducted directly from your bank account. Check this out. So what enables this? Central bank digital currencies. And if you think this is not coming to the West, you're sleeping. Check this out. UK to consult on possible central bank digital currency, right? The Bank of England and Britain's finance ministry said on Tuesday that they would hold a formal consultation next year on whether to move forward on possible central bank digital currencies that would take years to introduce. Central banks across the world, very similar language to what we just heard about with the China article. Central banks across the world are studying digital versions of their currencies to avoid leaving digital payments to the private sector. There it is again, the same rhetoric. We hear this from all the central banks that Bitcoin is a privately issued currency. That is a lie. Bitcoin is the most open, transparent, all-inclusive currency on the face of the planet. So they're the ones with the privately issued currency, in my opinion. Anyways, all right, so tie this in, okay? Connect the dots with me, guys. Bear with me, okay? So you see this, right? You see this video, right, of, guy getting scanned to get accepted to go into the, the thing. And some things are happening with something that we can't say that word, but some passports are being implemented for health reasons, right? And check out what these passports do. In England, people will need to use their NHS, sorry, I said it, I'm going to have to beep it out, pass to gain entry to nightclubs, indoor, unseated venues with more than 500 people, unseated outdoor venues with more than 4,000 people, any venue with more than 10,000 people. So it looks like these passports might be a Trojan horse to something, right? And if you still are, kind of on the fence about it, let's talk a little bit more about what this social credit system is, right? This is an amazing picture, and it really points out what happens, right? So you fall down if you post anti-government messages on social media. So imagine you're going into the subway, and all of a sudden, you can't buy a ticket because, you have too low of a social credit system, a social credit score, right? So anyways, spreading rumors on the internet. What does that sound like to you? Misinformation, right? Insincere apologies for crimes committed. Participating in anything deemed to be a cult. Cheating in online games. Not visiting aging parents regularly. Illegally protesting against the authorities. Who gets to determine what is an illegal protest? So we have two futures ahead of us. We have a future of freedom, which is Bitcoin, and we have a future of slavery, which is central bank digital currencies. They're already trying to essentially incept the West, and they're using the health scare that the world is going through right now, that in my opinion is extremely overblown if you actually look at the actual data, right? I think the survival rate is 99% for people under the age of, 30, 40 years old, right? So again, we don't like to be conspiracy theories, we don't like to whatever, but again, that's a whole lot of coincidences happening all at the same time, right? So this is the future we have ahead of us. The battle lines might be obfuscated right now, but as time progresses, right, you're going to have to pick one day whether you want slightly inconvenient freedom or comfortable slavery. And that's exactly what central bank digital currencies are going to enable to do with governments. Imagine, they don't like what you said on the internet, all of a sudden you can't go shopping. They don't like that you protested, they don't like that you voted for the wrong person, cut off, from the financial system. That's what central bank digital currencies are going to enable. And if you still think this is too much a conspiracy theorist, remember that Sarala Amarova, the recent appointee that they tried to get in from the Biden administration, she wanted to federalize all commercial banks in the United States. And one of her methods of curtailing inflation was to actually take money from people's accounts, which we covered on the show. So again, really, really crazy stuff, and let's see what happens. Anyways, Ben, what are your thoughts? And then we'll go to Phil.
Some fourth turning kind of shit there, man. Again, like you see kind of the polarization of things. It's collectivism versus individualism, and right now the masses are clamoring for that collectivism, and I worry that people are gonna love the CBDCs out the gate. That they're going to be like, oh, great, I get it's digital, and they'll probably, be airdropping some stimmies and things like that. And that people, bread and circuses, that people are going to be super excited to get, and they're not going to, people don't have the underlying knowledge to understand that their stimulus check while nice in the moment, compared to the destitute, situation that they're in the long run, effectively makes everything more expensive. So that if those stimmy checks are not coming in with increased frequency, then you're losing. Your wage is not keeping up for things. But I think they're going to be able to sneak them in initially and get people using them. But I don't know that it holds up, because there's an alternative. There's a very vocal, intransigent minority that have been screaming from the rooftops for going on 13 years and have been right about an awful lot of shit. And they are growing in numbers. They are growing in purchasing power and influence. And I think that in the end, reason and individualism will win.
Absolutely. And one more question, Ben, before I go to Phil. Do you think, because, again, this is a YouTube show, right? In the beginning, Phil and I were just so concerned. It's like we don't want to sound like conspiracy theorists. Eventually, over time, we've proven to be more right than wrong, just as the clown world that we're living in. It was those connections too crazy, the ones that I was trying to make in terms of the central bank digital currencies in England, the thing that cannot be named passports, and the social credit system in China.
See, I don't think so, because what you're doing when somebody says, well, it'll never be used for that, even if the person currently in power, let's say these, passports get rolled out for whatever reason locally. If that becomes a norm, an expected thing for any individual reason, even if the current regime or voted individual that's currently in power does not deem that mechanism fit for things like a social credit score, you don't just have to trust them, right? You have to trust every single person in that position of power in perpetuity moving forward. And at some point down the line, there's going to be somebody that says, well, we can do a little bit more. And then that becomes the norm. Well, we can now, there's something undesirable here. Maybe we add it for this. And it's, look how much has happened in the past couple of years. If you had come out the gate and been like, listen, for the next at least 2.5 years, these are the conditions that you're going to be living under. Right out the gate, if they had said that, people would have been like, every city would have been burning to the ground, right? Like if that was how they approached it. But that's not how it was approached. It was like a gradual creep. And even though it was quite fast, given the circumstances, it was a bit of a gradual creep. It was like something this month, and then a couple months later, this extra thing, and then this extra thing. And a lot can happen over the couple of years. I don't think it's too much of a reach. And even if it doesn't happen immediately everywhere, you learn that it's possible. So, yeah.
Absolutely, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's not necessarily that's exactly what they're going to do in the short term, but it's going to give them the power to do that. So just look at what's happened recently. Anyways, Phil, you want to tie it up?
Yeah, it's all incremental steps, right? So you don't really see the big picture as they're building it out. Some of us do see the big picture as we're building it out, and we're not exactly 100% correct about all of the assertions, but we're able to create like a general frame. One thing that kind of scares me from what you read, though, I thought that I saw something about how essentially China is trying to spread essentially spread out their, I guess we'd say, their influence with their CBDC idea. That is something. So see, this is where it gets kind of creepy, right? Like in China, you're dealing with that social credit system that you showed. But what happens when that credit system, right, is merged all over the world? Right? Like what happens when that happens?
I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
I really
exactly.
think that's
right?
what they're trying to do.
Yeah, like, that's exactly right. You know, you hop on a plane, let's say, you hop on a plane in one city, right? Like, imagine that, right? Like, you're with your family, whatever. Like, people sit there and say, oh, well, I don't do, I don't have anything to hide, I don't do anything wrong and this and that. Listen, we all do nothing wrong until the system that we live in decides that what we're doing is wrong. Okay, and then all of a sudden, what you're doing is wrong. Okay, so my point is that, right, somebody goes, they hop on a plane, let's say with their family, they get off the plane, let's say, in wherever their destination country is, and all of a sudden they're being escorted, by police or something like that, because somehow, I don't know, one of them got flagged for something that they wrote about that they disagreed, with a popular view or something like that. Like, that's the type of insanity, right? Like, people sit there and think, oh, well, people aren't going to do that. You know what? I'll tell you something. When you're working with software, it's really not that much different than people, right? But essentially, we always like to think, well, nobody's going to go and intentionally click the wrong button that's going to blow everything up. Let me tell you something. People absolutely, if you leave that button open for them to click it, they will click it. So if we sit there and create this system, don't think nobody should think for a second that none of this is going to be misused. It is absolutely, that will be its use case. Its use case will be misuse.
Absolutely. No one deserves that much power. No one. Especially the state. Just look at history. But anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. The software releases are brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out. CipherSafe.io. Store your seed in the Cipher wheel. Fireproof, waterproof, petproof. The link is down below. bluewallet version 6.2.13 was released, and that's down below. People, don't forget, rain or shine, we post daily. Nico, help me out. What is it? Tuesday to Saturday?
Monday through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday. Thank you very much. We have audio only on Apple Podcasts, on Anchor, and Spotify. Check us out.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. But before we go, I want to give a very, very, very special shout out to our friend and legendary Bitcoin YouTuber. Started it all, man. You guys know him. Give him a follow at BTC Sessions. Check out his YouTube channel. Subscribe to it if you haven't already done so. BTC Sessions on YouTube, and of course check out his Christmas special. It's December 23rd from 5 p.m. Eastern to 9 p.m. He's gonna have over 30 guests with a variety of bullish topics and Christmas cheer. Optimism. I love freaking Bitcoin, but you guys know the drill. If you enjoyed the show, smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the blip perspective and the catastrophic fails from the shitcoiners, central bankers, all of the above. And this is Nico and Phil, and this is your daily Simply Bitcoin session.
I'm confused. You're confused. We're confused. The central bankers and the governments are not making this any better for us.